Oh look, it's another Frank Turek video on objective morality. Relax, relax. This time at least it's something a little bit different, which is good because I'm really getting sick and tired of Frank and his ridiculous script. This time, he's answering a slightly different question about atheist views on objective morality, and at least in my opinion, he's still continuing to get it all wrong. So, away we go. A while back, we were doing religious arguments for objective morality, and I mentioned that I had another video by Frank Turek on the subject, and then I just never got back to it. Therefore, here it is. No, it's not remotely rational or credible because this is Frank Turek we're talking about, but I figured it would be an interesting exploration as much as you can get from Frank Turek. This isn't just a repeat of other videos, which is really why I kind of stopped looking at Frank Turek for objective morality videos, but this might actually be interesting. So, let's get started.
Looking at all your debates, a prevalent pattern kind of tends to emerge, really. You kind of poke and prod at these guys, and everything inevitably evolves into objective morality. Yeah. And so, I've noticed that you come prepared to answer a lot of questions, teleological, ontological, epistemological, to give weight and evidence behind your beliefs. And it just seems like what these guys turn to is arguing Christian fallibility, as if that's an effective argument, our lack of perfection, if you will.
Now, this is a really long question, so I'm going to just jump in here in the middle. Because here's one thing that we know about Frank Turek. He doesn't come prepared for anything. He comes with a script. Now, he's certainly not alone in that. A lot of apologists do the exact same thing, William Lane Craig being one of them, but that's really not something to be proud of. He's not actually answering anybody's questions. He's just repeating the same old tired nonsense over and over and over again verbatim. Frank doesn't have anything new to say because he never thinks of anything new. If you've been watching him for a little while, you've kind of seen his shtick. And this video was made back in 2019, and he's still saying the exact same things today, and the idiots in the audience, they're still gobbling it up. So let's see what else he's going to ask, and then we'll see just how badly Frank is going to fail. Because that ought to be fun, right?
As if that's an effective argument for the idea behind theism. It's just not. So I'm just wondering if you've ever seen, Hitchens in particular was disappointing. He circled a lot around this, and I expected more, really. And so I really wanted to ask you, and I was thinking about writing about this the other day. Have you seen an effective, logically cogent argument for objective morality from an atheist or agnostic that either stumped you or you thought was extremely compelling?
Now, I'm going to let Frank do his thing in a second, but I think this is one reason why we need to stop pulling our punches on the idiot religious. Now, I loved Hitch, I really did, but he, and to a lesser degree a lot of other people, even he wasn't willing, most of the time, to just say, "You're completely full of crap," to an apologist. There's that air of civility that a lot of people insist on maintaining, and I'm not saying that we should be purposely mean or insulting or anything like that, but we have to stop pretending that this is a coherent, polite conversation. It's not. It's one group of people conning the gullible and expecting everybody else to keep their mouths shut about it and pretend that we're all playing nice. Well, that's not for me. Now, I get why they do it. A lot of these people make their money going around and debating the religious dirtbags, and they don't want to cut into their own money supply. I get it, I really do. But I don't do that. I'm not beholden to talking to the religious for a paycheck. I don't care if they like me. I don't care if they respect me. They could hate my guts and I wouldn't give a damn. I am beholden to nothing but the truth. If they want to be respected, they need to act in a respectable manner. And as far as I'm concerned, people like Frank never do, which is why he needs to be called out on his bull crap. It's holding people accountable, and more people need to do that. But anyway, now it's Frank's turn, so let's see what he has to say.
That you had no answer for, or that you feel like what is the leading argument right now from an atheist or agnostic perspective on the existence of objective morality?
Whoops, sorry. I figured he'd have shut up by now. Some people, I guess they just like to hear themselves talk. Well, I guess that does give Frank more time to figure out how he's going to get on script, so let's hope this guy is finally done and see what Frank has to say, I hope.
Well, Sam Harris tries to give a human flourishing argument, but what he's doing is he's smuggling in the idea of human flourishing as if that's a good thing. Now, I agree it's a good thing, but if there is no God, why is human flourishing a good thing?
Because we're humans and we want to flourish. Now, I will agree that human flourishing is just something that Harris and others are just imposing on their discussion. It's not something that you can just magically find in nature. It is a completely subjective desire. Not that it's a bad desire, but it is entirely subjective, and then they pretend that you can be objective from that point forward, which, again, I entirely disagree with. You can say that human flourishing is the goal, but not everybody's going to agree with what human flourishing means. Which humans? Because just about any position that you're going to take are going to leave some people out in the cold. Which groups of people do you want to flourish? And what exactly does flourishing mean? Are you talking about a Wall-E type world where everybody is a lazy whale in a beach chair, having all their needs catered to the point where they can't even stand on their own 2 feet because they're so fat? Because I wouldn't want to live in a world like that. That's a terrible world. So what do you mean by that? And what's the rational path to get there? Are people going to just get stuff for nothing? Or are they going to have to work for it and earn their path to success? You're not going to get universal agreement on any of that, which means that objectivity goes right out the window. So count me as somebody who just doesn't buy into Sam Harris's crap.
And so I dealt with that in the book Stealing from God. I dealt with his argument. He's probably the top atheist out there who tries to back up objective morality. But oddly enough, here's Sam Harris, who doesn't believe we have consciousness. He doesn't believe we have free will. So I don't know how he believes we have moral culpability.
Depends on what you mean by that. I think we have moral culpability to each other. I am accountable to you, and you are accountable to me. And we're all accountable to each other, at least within a certain context. Societally speaking, we all decide what we're going to permit and what we're going to punish. And whether anybody likes it or not, it is majority rule. Or more properly, the one with the biggest stick wins. We can try for democracy, it's a good goal, but that doesn't make everybody actually equal. My vote isn't as important as the president or members of Congress or business magnates or anybody like that. Anybody who wants to tell themselves otherwise is just fooling themselves. The idea that everybody is going to have the same thing or be treated identically is just silly. It doesn't work that way in reality. I mean, it's a great idea, but ideas don't mean much when they don't actually work out in the real world that way. We have to be realistic, and I feel strangely dirty for even getting close to agreeing with Frank Turek.
If we're just molecular machines, if we're just moist robots, how can we even be held morally accountable? Forget the idea that there's a moral standard out there. How are we down here even doing anything moral? So I just find it frustrating in talking about these things with atheists, because it doesn't seem like either they don't get it or don't want to get it.
Well, that's where you're at fault, Frank. You desperately want people to believe what you believe, even when what you believe isn't remotely defensible. This is where people like Frank start to get really touchy-feely. He just wants there to be an objective morality, and he's certainly not alone. This isn't a religious problem, not entirely, it's a human problem. People are generally lazy, and they're looking for simple answers to complex problems. And they want solutions to exist universally forever, so they don't have to worry about it anymore. But that's just not how the real world works. I might focus a lot on religion here, but this is a bigger problem than just idiots like Frank Turek.
And there's some atheists out there who are philosophically trained, like I think Sam Harris from Stanford University, but I don't understand why he doesn't see how his view is self-defeating.
Philosophy doesn't really get you that far here, does it? Everyone is trying to get to happiness and not to truth, and I find that terribly sad. It doesn't really matter what comforts you. It matters only what is actually going on, and I think both Harris and Turek are missing the boat to some degree. Now, I don't think that this was a particularly good question from our long-winded questioner, but I also don't think that Frank really got anywhere useful either. This is really just, I really want this to be true, based on his fee-fees and faith, and never ever ever on reality. I think it just shows that we have a long, long way to go if we want to improve the situation of people, first from coming to grips with the real world, and then to defining our terms in a way that actually makes sense. If you start off with unrealistic goals, and I think a lot of people do, then you're never ever going to get to worthwhile destinations. This is one reason why talking about morality is so difficult, because so many people just want to believe different things, whether or not they're at all defensible. Personally, I'm all for reality, no matter how it makes me feel. I know my feelings don't mean a damn thing, and neither do yours. Neither do Frank's. Neither do Sam Harris's. We're all in this together, and we need to come to the most realistic, rational, and defensible solutions that we can, even if they aren't perfect solutions, because there probably are no perfect solutions, but we need to do it all without playing wishful thinking games. At least, that's what I want to do. How about you?